guys, welcome back to Resistance Chicks on this very late December 21st, 2017. We had every intention of coming live to you around 9 p.m. this evening, and then we had many obstacles in the way, but you know what? We're here now, and that is what matters.
Obviously, some forces that be did not want us to bring this to you.
Right.
This is big news. I have so much news. There was an attack in Australia today. I have so much lined up, and right before we go live a couple hours ago, Patriot Gallery is like, "Did you hear about this executive order?" And she's like, "It's on every channel," and I'm like, "Okay, well, my first reaction is if it sounds like it's too big to be something, then it's nothing. It's fake news." Okay, that's my first reaction.
Right.
Not fake news.
No, not fake news
Today,
at all.
real Donald Trump, and I'm going to read this quote here from Matthew Smith, declared Mau Sao, former head of Myanmar Army Western Command, responsible for widespread human rights abuse against Rohingya civilians. Trump signed an executive order sanctioning Mau Sao, and others should follow. There is a list. Now, so far, I think about 15 people are on this list. And this list encompasses an executive order encompasses a list. And Michelle's going to read parts of it where the U.S. is sanctioning human rights abusers.
We have three moderators coming right for. I love that the mods are here. Hang on. Let's take a moment to recognize that Heather comes, Maia comes, Stacy comes, and Kelly comes. All the four righteous women of God coming right in,
caring about this. United States sanctions human rights abusers and corrupt actors across the globe. Now, I actually went to the whitehouse.gov to make sure this was a thing.
And that's the article that I have up here that we're actually going to read from. It is literally from the White House itself right here. This is not fake news. This is as real as it gets.
Today, the Trump administration launched a new sanctions regime targeting human rights abusers and corrupt actors around the world, building on the global Magnitsky's Human Rights Accountability Act passed by Congress last year. President Donald J. Trump signed an executive order today declaring a national emergency.
And that's a huge deal.
A national emergency.
Now,
see, when we hear about this stuff, it's like fake news, but this is the web. This is the government.
What could be a national emergency? You would think some sort of hurricane or the wildfires or war.
With respect to serious human rights abuse and corruption around the world,
right,
and providing for the imposition of sanctions on actors engaged in these malign activities. In an annex to the order, the president imposed sanctions on 13 serious human rights abusers and corrupt actors. In addition, the Treasury's Department Office of Foreign Assets Control, acting on behalf of the Secretary of Treasury in consultation with the Secretary of State and the Attorney General, imposed sanctions on an additional 39 affiliated individuals and entities under the newly issued order.
Wow.
Today, the United States is taking a strong stand against human rights abuse. One of them is a doctor, I think, who's doing like kidney transplants on like, you know, human body trafficking thing.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Bodies.
Right.
He just specializes in them kidney transplants.
Weird.
Yeah. Where do you think them babies went in Haiti?
Gives me
willies. Huh? Ugh. These are real people who just like, you know, in China they do that.
Now, let's talk about for a second what this executive order. It's talking about property asset seizure.
Take it all.
Meaning you can't have property if you're going to violate some human rights violation.
This is sending a message that there is a steep price to pay for their misdeeds. At the direction of President Trump, the Treasury and our interagency partners will continue to take decisive and impactful actions to hold accountable those who abuse human rights, perpetrate corruption, and undermine American ideals. As a result of today's actions, all of the assets within U.S. jurisdiction of the individuals and entities included in the annex to the order or designated by the OFAC are blocked, and the U.S. persons are generally prohibited from engaging in transactions with them. Now, I'm going to give you a couple of these people that they have called out. Gemma. Their financial assets are jamming.
You're not going to be jamming anymore.
He is the former president of the Gambia, who came to power in 1994 and stepped down in 2017, has a long history of engaging in serious human rights abuses and corruption. Gemma created a terror and assassination squad called the Jugglers that answered
Like jugulars
directly
or
to
like
him.
jugglers?
Junglers.
Patriot
Junglers.
Gallery.
I think from the jungle.
Yes.
Like, ooh,
You're going to end up on camera.
Can you scroll? You have this big thing up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It says executive order. We'd like to read your thing. Can you scroll with it?
I can scroll with it. I thought I had gone back to us being big.
Actually, bring up the home treasury.gov one.
Well, I don't know if I can bring it up from like right here.
Bring up another one.
Okay. I got to go here and grab it then.
Go grab it. Go grab it, girlfriend. Put in Trump, home.treasury.gov. You can spell it.
I don't know if this is going to get it. I don't think that's
Dot, or /news/press release. It's close. /press release. Actually, you can Google the White House executive orders. It'll come up. And you want the treasury.gov one.
We're going to get to that big piece that's up there in a minute. We're going to read a couple of the highlights from the actual executive order. Is this one? Is this what you want?
No, we want the one that's at the Treasury Department. Treasury.gov. Put in like treasury.gov. And the
Treasury. I can spell.
.gov. You know G-O-V. Yeah, you know me.
You see it there anywhere?
Just type it in as www.
Oh my gosh. You know what, Leah? Just read it out loud. They don't need to see it. I'm sorry.
Keep looking for it. You can keep looking.
Oops,
you keep typing this in while I'm reading. Okay?
All right.
All right.
Keep
All
going.
right. So, Zambia created this, used the junglers to threaten, terrorize, interrogate, and kill individuals whom Zambia assessed to be threats. During Jama's tenure, he ordered the junglers to kill a local religious leader, journalists, members of the political opposition, and former members of the government, among others. Jama used the Gambia's National Intelligence Agency as a repressive tool of the regime, torturing political opponents and journalists. Throughout his presidency, Jama routinely ordered the abuse and murder of those he suspected of undermining his authority.
Is this it?
Mm-hmm. Yep,
All
that's
right,
it.
We found it.
During his tenure, Jama used a number of corrupt schemes to plunder the Gambia's state coffers or otherwise siphon off state funds for his personal gain. Now, I do want to put in a side here because we know that our government is corrupt too as well.
Yes.
Okay, so we're not saying that the United States government isn't corrupt. I hope that this reaches to Obama and Hillary and Clinton.
It's not actually taking me to the actual story.
Did you click on the story? Bring it up?
I just copied this exact. See, I just pressed copy.
Oh.
Copy, and then it doesn't want to.
Well, that just stinks.
I know.
Well, why don't you make us big? Well, they can have it in the background.
Let me try again.
Okay. Make us big, make us little. So we've got this guy, electoral fraud. Then we got Dan Gertler. Is an international businessman and billionaire who has amassed his fortune through hundreds of millions of dollars worth of opaque and corrupt mining and oil deals in the Democratic Republic of Congo, the DRC.
It's black. Maybe
Gertler has used his close relationship with the DRC President Joseph Kabila to act as a middleman for mining asset sales in the DRC, requiring some multinational companies to go through Gertler to do business with the Congolese state. As a result, between 2010 and 2012 alone, the DRC reportedly lost $1.36 billion in revenues from underpricing of mining assets that were sold to offshore companies like Gertler. The failure of the DRC to publish the full details of one of the sales prompted International Monetary Fund to halt loans to the DRC totaling $225 million in related action. Let's see. It goes on to talk about, there's another guy, Slobana Tesik, among the biggest dealers of arms and munitions in the Balkans, who spent nearly a decade on the United Nations travel ban list for violating UN sanctions against arms exports to Liberia. Benjamin Bolmel. This is like...
You skipped Mong Mong Sao.
I haven't gotten to Mong Mong Sao
yet.
yet.
You skipped him. That's all right.
I'm on Benjamin Molmel.
Okay.
Molmel. This reminds me of like those, Where in the
these?
World is Carmen Sandiego?
Hang on though, because I know, listen, I'm still not quite sure that everybody understands what we're talking about here. We're talking about what the people that this is going to affect, but I still don't think that people understand what it is and what kind of effect. So here's the deal, guys.
Go ahead, if you want to show them that first. I wanted to give them an idea of what it would do.
Right, but I don't think that people quite understand what it will do. If these people have property, and it doesn't matter who you are, whether you are foreign, whether you are domestic, if you are committing human rights violations, and this is a very broad brushstroke when you say that, somebody committing human rights violations, and when you read through the executive order, it talks about pretty much like anybody that's associated with anybody committing these human rights violations, then you can't have property in the United States. The United States will seize it. Now, how does that link to Uranium One? Because there are a lot of channels out there that are linking this to Uranium One. And so we all know that we gave, Hillary did, a lot of our uranium to Russia. Let's say that Russia is found to be committing human rights violations, then we can seize this land and asset that they own. We also know that
corruption. See, corruption isn't really defined in this. It could be just corruption.
Exactly. We also know that like places like Saudi Arabia, there are princes there that own land here in the United States. That's why this is so mind-blowing. I mean, it is epic what he has done, because we've been saying it for a while here on Resistance Chicks that I don't understand how all of these foreign countries own so much of the United States land.
There's
and a lot
wide-reaching. This is Gao Yang. China is one of the biggest human rights violators, right?
Right.
Gao Yang was the Beijing Public Security Bureau branch during Gao's tenure. Human rights activist Chao Shun-Li was detained at Beijing Municipal Public Security Bureau, where in March 2014, she fell into a coma and died from organ failure.
Wow.
Her body showing signs of emaciation and neglect. Chao had been arrested after attempting to board a flight to attend human rights training in Switzerland. Mm-hmm. She was refused visitation by her lawyer. Wow. And was refused medical treatment while she suffered from tuberculosis. So, the whole Chinese government should have all their assets. I mean, we could take everything back from China.
I'm serious, and that's why I'm saying it's such a broad brushstroke. I was watching someone's channel earlier when they were covering this, and they said, "You think that you elected a powerful president? I think he's showing just how powerful he is." I know that Obama, you had your pen
open. Is Jasper outside?
No,
I'm freezing.
I'll close it. You had your pen and your phone. Okay, well, Trump is using his pen and actually doing something massive. If this can be done, which I never even thought that it was a thing that could be done, why didn't Obama do it sooner? Why? Because he's more than happy to give all of our land away to foreigners.
Antonio Juarez Ramirez, that's one name, by the way, is a Guatemalan congressman accused of ordering an attack in which 2 journalists were killed and another injured. The Guatemalan prosecutors and a UN-sponsored commission investigating corruption in Guatemala allege that Juarez hired hitmen to kill Prensa Libre correspondent Danilo Efran Zapan Lopez, who's I want a Spanish name, whose reporting had hurt Juarez's plan to run for re-election. Fellow journalist Federico Benjamin Salazar of Radio Nuevo Mundo was also killed. So these people are.
Let me get to a couple of comments here that are pertinent that also address some of my own personal concerns. I'm going to start with Stacy, Rose of Sharon Homestead, one of our moderators. She says, yes, great, but we still need to make sure U.S. citizens are innocent until proven guilty. As good as this sounds, we can't let this supersede out due process. And that was one of my biggest concerns when I heard about this. I was like, is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? Because anytime, like
these are human rights violators and corruption, and I'm guessing that this is going to be used against heads of state, big people at the top. I think that this... I don't know if anybody in America is a human rights violator, so I can't see that being used...
And that's the thing. It would have to be kind of like one of those massive liberal left wing where it doesn't make any sense, where you're violating a human right when you don't refer to somebody's proper gender pronoun.
Why don't you go ahead and bring up the deal then?
Mark H says, I noticed Trump has been pressing for civil asset forfeiture, which is very abused against Americans. And I think that might be why Trump hasn't been dealing with Jeff Sessions on this issue. And a lot of people have been questioning why not? And I think he was waiting for this because it kind of does go hand in hand. So let me, like Leah said, pull up this one. Wait, do I have two up here?
Yeah, you unclick the top one.
All right, so by the authority vested in me as president by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, including International Emergency Economic Powers Act, the National Emergencies Act, the Global Magnitsky Human Rights Accountability Act, of the Immigration and Nationality Act of 1952 and Section 301, yada, 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 yada. I, Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America, find the prevalence and severity of human rights abuse and corruption that have their source in whole or in substantial part outside of, now, did you hear that? In whole or in partial, outside of the United States, such as those committed or directed by persons listed in the annex to this order, which that's what you were going over. Have
this
reached
is really
such
basically
scope
for foreign actors
and gravity that they threaten the stability of international political and economic systems. Human rights abuse and corruption undermine the values that form an essential foundation of stable, secure, and functioning societies, have devastating impacts on individuals, weaken democratic institutions, degrade the rule of law, perpetuate violent conflicts, facilitate the activities of dangerous persons, and undermine economic markets. The United States seeks to impose tangible and significant consequences on those who commit serious human rights abuse or engage in corruption, as well as to protect the financial system of the United States from abuse by these same persons. I therefore determine that serious human rights abuse and corruption around the world constitute an unusual and extraordinary threat to the national security, foreign policy, and economy of the United States, and I hereby declare a national emergency to deal with that threat. I hereby determine and order, and we're only going to read a couple of these. All property and interests in property that are in the United States that hereafter come within the United States or that are or hereafter come within the possession or control of any United States person of the following persons are blocked and may not be transferred, paid, exported, withdrawn, or otherwise dealt in. The persons listed in the annex, that's what Leah was covering. Any foreign person determined by the Secretary of Treasury, yada, yada, yada. Now, hang on.
Wait. I'm going to get to this. It says, be it a current or former government official. So this could affect the Uranium One type activity.
Exactly.
Or a person acting for or on behalf of such an official who is responsible for or complicit in or has directly or indirectly engaged in, number one.
Which it means it could cover Hillary Clinton.
Corruption, including the misappropriation of state assets, the expropriation of private assets for personal gain. Corruption related to government contracts.
Yes.
Or the extraction of natural resources or bribery. Uranium One, guys. Uranium One. Bribery. I think this is setting Hillary Clinton up, dude. You can't do this to transfer or facilitate the transfer of the proceeds of corruption. Those are like the highlights, I think, of this order. You guys can read it.
I'm gonna link to this in the description so you guys may peruse it at your leisure because it is really exciting.
This is talking about corrupt people in the government engaging in corrupt acts.
Yes. And it is really interesting. Stacey is mentioning that she says, just amazing, Lord, let this be an answer to my message to the girls, us, just earlier about China's death rooms and forced abortions, things like that. If you're going to commit these kind of human rights violations, you ain't going to be able to have property in the United States.
They're not allowed to have Christmas in China. I was reading that today.
Huh?
They have banned Christmas in China.
Come on, ban China.
They've put up signs and stuff like that. You know, don't let the West ruin our culture. Don't do Christmas.
Patriot Gallery.
Just to give people some peace, if you pay property taxes, then the government already owns your land.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
And if you have public school, and then they own your children.
Yeah.
And so what the whole idea is get everything on microchips.
Does anybody want to see
this
Michelle
is one way.
This is one of my memories.
What is this?
This came up in my memories. I didn't reshare it. Guess who's who?
That's back when Leah was taller than me. No, I was still wearing my hair on the side back then.
But I want to give people peace. This is your only shot. You might lose your land because, you got it with paper dollars. We have to go back to the Constitution where gold and silver have to buy things gold and silver. You shrink your government, you shrink their power, and people become honest. They won't have these big businesses and big global companies that decide all the laws and the rules. In order to have a government back, you have to really be willing to give up whatever you got with money and go back to gold and silver and get your land back that was your grandfather's and your great-grandfather's. And their land was stolen from it. We were put in these cities. You probably live in a neighborhood all clumped together with other people. You can't grow your own food and raise your animals if you're in a neighborhood. But you got to trust God on this one. This is a big one. You're going to have to just put your faith in God. No, they already own everything.
They already own you.
China owns California. I think he's trying to get California back. Everybody knows China owns California. I mean, China has a contract with all our names on it. We're their slaves.
They want to know, I think it's birth certificates.
This is one way out.
It's birth certificates that China has on us because they want to know how many assets they have.
I want to bring it down to a real level like this. There's China's Day of Shame. Local officials ban communists from Christmas celebrations. China's state newspaper, the Global Times, reported on Wednesday that a Communist Party officials, this isn't racist, this is my accent, okay? In some municipalities have banned members from celebrating Christmas in yet another way to fight an alleged cultural invasion of China by the West. The biggest cultural invasion was Chairman Mao, who destroyed all of Chinese culture, by the way.
Never happened, Leah. Communism has always done great things.
They label Christmas as China's Day of Shame. It talks about to resist the rampant Western festival, so as to build a good image of party officials. Christmas is China's Day of Fame. Good communists reject cultural invasion. This is how they speak. I'm just telling you. They put up large banners.
It's ridiculous.
Saying, strive to be outstanding sons and daughters of China, oppose kitsch Western holidays, and resist expansion of Western culture.
Wow.
You can't be a Christian, by the way. You can't have any religious beliefs. You can only believe in Chairman Mao. And Karl Marx, actually, they build monuments to Karl Marx there. And they kind of worship him. Mm-hmm. It's just deadbeat dead. And they are openly targeting Christian acts during Christmas. In 2014, for example, police arrested a woman for holding a sign in public reading, God, who loves the world so much, is calling Xi Jinping and Peng Lingua, the president and his wife.
Okay.
She got arrested for a sign that said, God loves them so much and is calling them.
No.
That was arrestable offense.
Because you can't talk about God loving the president in China.
Yeah. Yeah, so you
go to jail for that.
A heavy fine for...
I think that's pretty reasonable.
Okay. They have banned anyone of any religion from making and selling artificial snow to observe the holiday, punishing this behavior with a heavy fine.
You can't make fake snow.
No fake snow trying to celebrate Christmas because it could be religious because Jesus is like a snow baby.
See, now this is a human rights violation. We need to seize their property.
I know. So to compete with Christmas this year, China is debuting the world's largest ice exhibition, the Harbin Ice and Snow World Park, on Christmas Day. So they can do it. The more secular aspects of Christmas, the bright holiday lights and the scramble to shop for presents, remains an active part of Chinese life, but you're just not actually allowed to give them away for Christmas. These two articles came out in Breitbart today on the same day. We all were like, oh, yay, you can have 2 children, right, in China. Mm-hmm. But Chinese authorities still continue to actively promote and implement coercive population planning policies that violate international standards. And I put this on my Facebook and I said, how come the feminists never fight for a woman's right to give birth? They only fight for the right for a woman to kill the child.
Yeah. Where are the feminists standing up for the Chinese women that want to keep their children?
So here's the thing. Her body, her choice.
It's
right?
not her body, her choice.
But here's the thing. If I'm going to say her body, her choice, I'm going to say there's a baby in there. She has a choice to let it come out alive. Okay? But to the feminists and to the socialists and to the leftists, they're okay with these things because of like what I love about this is like everybody's concerned with population control. But if they really were, why are we talking in the European Union how they need migrants to replace their population?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Why don't we just bring a bunch of Chinese people into Europe? See, these women, they literally, her body, her choice, but she's forced to have an abortion. Her body, her choice, but she's forced to take contraception, which we have found out increases a woman's chances of getting breast cancer by 40%, and then ups it to 60% if you've been taking it for longer than 10 years.
So if you're Chinese and you don't want to get breast cancer and you don't take the pill, then you get pregnant and are forced to have abortions over and over again.
Human rights violation, take all their stuff.
Human rights violation, that's going to be our new thing.
Human rights violation, take all their stuff.
Take all their stuff.
Take it all.
Anything they have in the United States.
Take it all. Take it all.
Because
baby.
there's a lot of people, there's a lot of government officials that have, in China, that have United States property. So I think we can just take it all.
Take it all.
The Chinese shouldn't have any.
This is great. This is how we get our land back from China.
Yeah, love it.
Make America great again.
Make America American land again. Owned by Americans. I think that's not unreasonable. Right? Okay, what do you have next?
I want to make you laugh for a second.
Hey, make them laugh, make them laugh.
All right, so some illegal aliens went into Mitch McConnell's office today, and madness. Madness.
We are right here again. I left you a space. There's a chair there, and here's a couch, and there's a chair over there, and you have not come out.
Huh? Are those hostages in there? What are those people doing on the floor?
Illegal aliens.
Was it a sit-in?
I want to represent the state of Tennessee.
Who's that guy?
Who has some of the strongest and most proudest and most resilient human beings.
I did not hear about this.
Yeah, it was happening. And then,
oh, jeez, dang. That's loud.
the workers in the background, you can see this little guy back here. Used to tantrums, must have a 2-year-old at home.
Did somebody tweet that? Or did you make that up?
I made that
You're
up.
funny.
I know.
Okay, you're going to play it again?
No, there's more. This is all new ones.
He's going to go hoarse. You could ruin your vocal cords doing that.
Somebody put up, somebody was standing outside just tweeting these little short videos out.
Crying out loud.
So that wasn't that fun?
Was that Jasper?
I didn't hear.
Go ahead. Was that fun? It was fun for them.
All right, so the UN held a vote today condemning the U.S. moving the embassy to Jerusalem, and you know when you make a bunch of these nations mad, Pakistan,
they throw temper tantrums just like those people.
Every 28-9 with 35 brave abstentions. So Colombia, Canada, Australia, Bahamas, the Bhutan, Jamaica, Mexico, Romania, Rwanda.
Those are the abstentions?
Yeah. These are, Poland abstained. South Sudan abstained. Trinidad, Tobago abstained. And these tiny little countries voted against Israel, Nauru, Guatemala.
Do not.
Countries you've never really heard of.
Like Nikki Haley.
Togo. I don't either.
But she's very forceful when she speaks.
Yeah.
And are you going to play it? She's like, we will not have other nations telling us where we can put our embassy.
Yeah. So I've got a couple. Here we go. The UN is an anti-USA, anti-Christian, anti-Jewish, Islamic supremacist hate group that has watched and supported the extermination of Jews and Christians throughout the world.
Yes.
And this guy here, I want you to listen to this.
Isn't this one we played already?
Yeah, but it bears reminding. Why do we support the embassy in Jerusalem? Forget everything that you think about the Jews and the conspiracies and everything else. Forget it all for a second.
I don't think some of our viewers can do that, but maybe they can.
Just put it out of your mind for 1 second. Get it out of your blood. Shake it out and just listen. It out. Jasper can.
The previous speaker can continue. Thank you, Mr. President. Israel's 1.5 million Arabs, whatever challenges they face, enjoy full rights to vote and to be elected in the Knesset. They work as doctors and lawyers. They serve on the Supreme Court. Now, I'd like to ask the members of that commissioned that report, the Arab states from which we just heard, Egypt, Iraq, and the others, how many Jews live in your countries? How many Jews lived in Egypt, Iraq, Jordan, Kuwait, Lebanon, Libya, Morocco? Once upon a time, the Middle East was full of Jews. Algeria had 140,000 Jews. Algeria, where are your Jews? Egypt used to have 75,000 Jews. Where are your Jews? Syria, you had tens of thousands of Jews. Where are your Jews? Iraq, you had over 135,000 Jews. Where are your Jews? Mr. President, where is the real apartheid? Why is there a UN commission on the Middle East that does not include Israel? From the 1960s and the 70s, they refused to include Israel. Where is the apartheid, Mr. President? Mr. President, why are we meeting today on an agenda item singling out only one state, the Jewish state, for targeting? Where is the apartheid, Mr. President?
Well, that didn't go as planned.
Very well said. So, Heather says, Nikki Haley did a great job. I wanted to give her a standing ovation. I really dislike the UN.
Yeah, I really dislike the UN. And so, you know what? When it comes to the enemy of my enemy is my friend type thing,
yep.
I don't like Nikki Haley. I don't like that she condemned Bashar al-Assad. But when she stood up for the Jews, when she stood up for the Christians, when she stood against the UN, I want us out of the UN. I don't want to be sitting at a council with these people
with Trump
telling us what to do.
As president, that might be not that far-fetched.
Speaking of the UN, have you guys heard of the Chicago commissioner who has asked the United Nations to come to Chicago to solve their violence on their streets?
What's more, he has denied help from the actual United States troops.
Absolutely. They say, we don't allow Trump in. We don't want the federal government. We want the United Nations. There are UN...
No, you are not... Listen, I got to tell you something, Illinois. Okay?
Yeah.
We are a republic, but if you try to go around the federal government and have the United Nations come and bring troops onto our soil to defend or to help. It's not to defend, but in my mind, it's to defend.
Snopes. Never go to Snopes. Snopes is a left-wing, just horrible thing. Will UN peacekeepers be deployed on the streets of Chicago?
No, don't call them peacekeepers. Do not go and call them peacekeepers, Snopes. Whoever you are.
Absolutely true that in Chicago, the commissioner asked... Asked the dude to ask the UN to come, and I actually somebody sent me a clip of the I don't want to bring up my Facebook. I don't know if they want their.
It's almost like an act of civil war at this moment.
The United Nations are hiding.
This is Alistair Williams, and I'm with Stockport
in Maryland. I want to just.
You're gonna play that or no?
Yeah, I'm going to play it. I'm just going to try and show you the pictures of it.
Okay, then we don't need the volume.
Yeah, don't need to show you the...
Okay. Once the UN comes to America, they will take your guns away and never leave America, says Chantha.
So here are a bunch of UN vehicles in Maryland just parked, just sitting there.
No.
Ready to be deployed. I don't know what they're doing there.
Unless that UN stands for United States of America. I am down.
You look at the numbers.
No.
And there actually was a local, I was looking for the local TV in Chicago, did a snippet on it. And,
Carl Smuck says, I think a militia should go to Chicago if the UN troops go in there and fire on the UN troops and wipe them out.
The Chicago police chief reminds the county official, the UN has no jurisdiction here.
No, the UN has no jurisdiction.
His name is Richard Boykin. And he traveled to the UN last Thursday and met with the Assistant Secretary General of Peace Building Support, Oscar Fernandez Taranco, to discuss the murder rate in Chicago's African American community. He says, the United Nations has a track record of protecting minority populations. He told the Chicago Tribune before his meeting.
Excuse me, pause right there. Protecting minority populations. Let's talk about the minority population that is in Chicago. Unfortunately, it's the inner city that is causing the issues in Chicago. So what you're saying, are you going to go in and protect all of the thugs that are in Chicago shooting up and causing all of the violence? Is that who you're going to protect? Or are you going to go in and protect the average citizen that's there against the thugs?
I don't know. It's weird.
Chicago makes it easy.
Texas Rancher says the UN equals deep state plants.
Wait. Keep talking while the commercial plays.
Let's see. Chris says, sorry, and Chris Holman would know, he was in the military. Sorry, ladies, that video of the UN vehicles has already been debunked as being CGI. That doesn't mean that they are not there. Here, though. I think that's what it means to say. So thank you for that, Chris. But it is a real thing that the mayor of Chicago did, in fact, ask for the UN troops to come.
It's taking one local leader to the Big Apple, and it's not for a visit to the New York City police. Eyewitness News political reporter Craig Walls here now with more on an idea that is crossing beyond the state lines. Craig.
Ellen, some people are calling it a far-fetched idea, but one county commissioner says desperate times require desperate measures, which is why today he took his concerns about Chicago's shootings and murders to the United Nations.
I'm hoping to appeal to the UN to actually come to Chicago and meet with victims of violence and maybe even possibly help out in terms of peacekeeping efforts.
Cook County Commissioner Richard Boykin boarded a plane to New York City for a meeting with an Assistant Secretary General of the United Nations. It's a meeting that's been planned for more than a month and stems from disconcerting violence numbers seen in Chicago this year, violence which is felt particularly hard in many African American communities.
We've had over 600 people killed by gun violence already this year alone. That is a huge number. In my community of Austin, we've had 450 people shot and 80 people killed this year alone. And so we have to do more to protect these communities.
The mayor's office says the call for UN peacekeepers is a political stunt.
But we don't like our po-po. We don't like the police.
And we certainly don't want the federal government troops of the United States.
We don't like our local government. Let's try the United Nations. We hate the police.
Isn't that skipping
The police superintendent says it's a nice idea, but not the answer to Chicago's violence.
I appreciate the commissioner's energy and his anxiousness to help reduce the gun violence in Chicago. I really do commend that. But at the end of the day, the UN has no jurisdiction here. You know, they really have no jurisdiction in this country.
Other suggestions for helping Chicago police have included bringing in the National Guard, but that too has been dismissed as a gimmick or not practical. Johnson says despite a record number of murders last year, new policing strategies are having an impact.
This year, we are down about 110 in raw numbers from the murders last year and about over 700 shootings down. So I'm pleased with it. It's not cause for celebration, but it is showing progress.
We're down 100 murders and 700 shootings. Wow, it's like dang on Wild West out there, man. I'm not going to Chicago. What are you, crazy, man?
Oh my gosh. Stacy says treason, treason, treason.
Treason May.
Oh my, treason.
All right, what else do we have here? All right, so Jeff Sessions orders the Department of Justice to re-examine evidence in the Uranium One investigation.
Haha.
Why does she...
Finally, Jeff Sessions does something worthwhile.
This would make a really good tapestry.
Why does she wear it? You know, she's seen too much of The Sound of Music. You know, where they're wearing the drapes.
I'm going to get to more of that in a second, but I'm going to bring a little clip that's really funny. The highlight of yesterday's vote was Ohio Senator Sherrod Brown telling us he doesn't use his brain at work. Are you ready to put the microphone up there? Okay. This is fantastic. All right. Here we go. Listen to this.
Most of us, you know, we don't, I mean, I work in my garden. I work outside. I do things, but I'm not working in a diner. I'm not working construction. I don't use my arms and shoulders and brain and legs to do my work. We work here.
Oh, no. You know, every once in a while, you have a flub
and brain
in life.
If he doesn't, he's absolutely
but
right.
He must be telling the truth because he just showcased that really well.
All right. Ex-FBI Assistant Director James Callstorm warns Patriots will soon expose why the Clinton Foundation investigation was shut down. Are you ready for this?
We're ready. Oh, you want the...
In the FBI now.
It's not good, but I think recent events that I'm aware of are going to improve that because there's going to be actually something is going to happen. in my view.
Oh, are you going to leave us on that? Oh, James, you got to come back.
Yes. Well, I think there's a lot of patriots that have just
It's going to come back, don't worry.
It's going to come back.
had it up to here with what's going on, and they're going to step forward and tell people what the shenanigans have been, how they shut down the Clinton Foundation investigation, how other things, were done that are so anti what the FBI and the United States and this country's about.
We want to hear it, James Carlstrom. We want to hear it here. That's a fact. James, thank you very much.
I thank you very much, too.
Thank you very much, James.
All right, here's Jim Jordan, Congressman from Ohio.
We actually do have some intelligence in Ohio.
We know the
by
Clinton
the way.
campaign paid Russia to influence the election. Most of Mueller's team is anti-Trump.
You gonna play it?
Yeah.
Have you had conversations, or has your office had
My
conversations with the White House about the Mueller investigation?
I have not called we just had Mr. Sessions, Mr. Rosenstein, Mr. Ray in front of us. I did not talk to the White House about what kind of questions I was going to ask. I based it on the evidence and the facts that have come out. How do you get around the text message?
Have you had conversations with the White House, not about the questions you asked, but about the Mueller investigation in general?
He obviously doesn't
Well,
care.
I talked with the White House about all kinds of things. We've had talks with the White House about tax policy. We have talks about welfare policy. We've had talks about Obamacare. Of course, we've had talks with the White House.
sort of
But my
Sesame Street
questions in
character
those committees was driven by the evidence we've received in the last several weeks, like the text message from Peter Strzok and Lisa Page says, where we can't afford to take the risk that the American people are going to elect Donald Trump. So we need an insurance policy. If that doesn't go to intent to have a plan to disrupt the election,
I want to talk about your argument here in a second, but I'm trying to get to the issue of coordination.
I'm trying to listen to Jim Jordan.
Of course. We talked to the White House.
John.
Of course, we talked to the White House about the Mueller investigation. No. Look, do you talk about talking points? Are there talking points on the Mueller investigation?
Of course not. Of course not. But here's the coordination. The Clinton campaign and the DNC, now we know those are one and the same, paid the law firm who paid Fusion GPS, who paid Christopher Steele, who paid Russians to give him this dossier, get this dossier that was, we think, taken to the FISA court and was the basis for securing warrants to spy on Americans. The coordination between the Clinton campaign
I will get to this. I will get to the dossier and the FBI. We're talking on the FBI in just a second, but I want to finish up on the issue of coordination.
Those are facts.
I want to get to the issue. I want to stay on the issue of coordination for 1 second.
I want to talk about the coordination we know.
Hang on. You've been on Fox News when you say that the FBI was, acting to keep Donald Trump from being president of the United States. Before you go on Fox News, do you talk to them? Do you talk to them about these claims that you will make?
I talk to my colleagues. I look at the evidence, and I talk with our press people who book us on your show, and we talk about the coordination that exists between the Clinton campaign and the Russians. Now think about this. We know for a fact the Clinton campaign paid Russians to do what? To influence the election. And yet we've had this month-long investigation by Bob Mueller with no evidence that President Trump worked with Russians in any way to coordinate and influence the election. But we know the Democrats did.
President Trump.
Wow, that was kind of painful.
It's really.
You're gonna do another one?
Concern about FBI bias seems partisan. You seem to have selective outrage.
No. The vast majority of the FBI are great people doing the Lord's work out there. I'm talking about the guys at the top. I'm talking about Andrew McCabe. I'm talking about Peter Strzok. I'm talking about Lisa Page. I'm talking about the guy over at the Justice Department, top official of the Justice Department, Bruce Ohr, who was meeting with the author of the dossier, Christopher Steele, who met with Glenn Simpson of Fusion GPS, the people who paid for the dossier, both before and after. I'm talking about those individuals. That's where the concern is, not the rank and file folks who are doing a great job.
And I hear you talking about those individuals, and only those individuals. All I'm asking is,
they're the key people.
In your oversight role in Congress. So if it came out that there were FBI agents in the New York field office, and there's been a lot of stories about agents in the New York field office.
Okay, I can't handle anymore. Sorry, you can watch the rest yourself.
But basically, he goes on to,
I feel like we can put Jordan up there with Rand Paul and Trey Gowdy and some of our favorites.
House Republicans holding secret talks to build criminal case against senior FBI and DOJ officials. So, this is going to go somewhere, you guys. We've got the House Republicans, Trey Gowdy, Jim Jordan. They're getting together. They're gonna make things happen. But they're not letting us know what's going on. We're gonna get that one in a second. Oh snap! I don't want that one actually. Oh, that's not a story that I want. Nope. That's not what I want either.
Patriot Gallery will come and gap fill your Silence.
I just thought it was kind of funny. Isn't there a basketball player named Jordan in there? Jordan Shoes or something?
Yeah, come on, hang
so
on.
Isn't this Jim Jordan? Isn't he from Ohio, right? And so Ohio kind of slam dunk. See?
Okay, but we're not going to talk about the embarrassing fact that Mom came out and just said, isn't there some basketball player with some Jordan shoes? Like she doesn't know who Michael Jordan is. We'll just pretend that didn't happen.
Oh, I know what that was up with this one. Sorry, I have a bunch of links up. I want to get to the one with
I can't help you. I got nothing.
What?
I'm just saying, I don't have anything to help you.
No, you have it.
And the comments in here are like, Robin, love you. I got a couple of Christmas puddings made with beef suet, feeding them with rum right now. So they're not exactly on topic, which I can totally read all of these awesome comments. I'm just saying I can't help you with the silence, man.
No, I'm trying to find, here it is. Rand Paul. Time to investigate high-ranking Obama government officials who might have colluded to prevent the election of real Donald Trump. This could be worse than Watergate.
Yes.
So, worse than Watergate. Rand Paul calls for high-ranking Obama officials to be investigated for colluding against Trump.
Now, he calls for it. Will it happen?
I don't know.
You know, I mean, that's what should be, that's the crux of it. Is it going to happen?
Yeah, so I also had a couple more. Oh, here it is. Wow. Wife of Fusion GPS founder Glenn Simpson bragged on Facebook her husband was behind Russiagate.
Yeah.
So the wife of Fusion GPS founder Glenn Simpson, Mary Jacoby, is proud of her husband's work that led to mass Trump-Russia hysteria. Jacoby is so proud that she felt the need to boast on Facebook about how Russiagate would not exist if it weren't for her husband.
Okay.
The tablet investigation using public sources to trace the evolution of the now famous dossier suggests that central elements of the Russiagate scandal emerged not from the British ex-spy Christopher Steele's top secret sources in the Russian government, which are unlikely to exist separate from the Russian government control, but from a series, get this whole thing originated from a series of stories that Fusion GPS co-founder Glenn Simpson and his wife, Mary Jacoby, co-wrote for the Wall Street Journal 10 years ago. So basically, they had a story, and they brought it to the front now.
Right. Patriot Gallery's note says, Jim Jordan just slammed drunked. Media man. I get it. Dunked. I like it.
All right, so get this. So you've got the wife of it who's in on this. I mean, this is actually beyond my comprehension to be able to be able to bring this to you. Vocalize, or
that's the word you wanted.
So back 10 years ago, Trump was a loudmouth Manhattan real estate millionaire. So understanding the origins of the Steele dossier is especially important because what it tells us about the nature and the workings of what its supporters would hopefully describe as an ongoing campaign to remove the elected president of the United States. In a Facebook post from June of this year that Tablet has seen in screenshots, Jacoby claimed that her husband deserves the lion's share of credit for Russiagate. She has not replied to repeated requests for comment. It's come to my attention that some people still don't realize what Glenn's role was in exposing Putin's control of Donald Trump. She wrote, let's be clear. Glenn conducted the investigation. Glenn hired Chris Steele. Chris Steele worked for Glenn. This assertion is hardly a simple assertion of family pride. It goes directly to the nature of what became known as the Steele dossier, on which the Russiagate narrative is founded. News on the Facebook post comes amid heightened scrutiny on for the opposition research firm, according to Fox News reporter Jake Gibson. Attorney General Jeff Sessions has called to look into it. Bruce Ohr and his wife. So it's like I have this like these husband and wives. Bruce Ohr's wife was a CIA, worked with Fusion GPS, and now you've got this guy and his wife writing for the Wall Street Journal, bringing up their old reports and hiring a guy to dig up things. And from what I understand, none of these people had any real connections in Russia at all, period. None of them. There's no real connections.
Listen, it's
kind of a joke at this point.
It's like Russian salad dressing or something at this point. There is no link to anyone with anyone in Russia except for the dossier. That's as close as you're going to get. which is actually a pretty significant deal, which they are investigating.
So I'm going to do 2 more things, and then we're going to sign off because it's really late, and we just wanted to bring you this executive order, and the rest of the news is fantastic.
So much to talk about, though. We didn't even hit any of it.
I know, but it's midnight.
We got to go to Australia. We didn't do that.
We're going to go to there. That's what I mean.
Oh, we're going to do that right now?
We're going to do this real quick, and then...
Okay, but before we get to that, let's just say that the Bundy...
Let's do it right here.
That's not Australia. You just said we're going to get to that.
I'm going to do this and then Australia.
Okay, fine.
This is Bundy's, right? Isn't that what you're going to do?
I'm getting exhausted here, man. Yeah, we're going to Bundy right now. Let's do it. Mistrial.
So the judge declares a mistrial in the standoff case after the government misconduct is discovered. We brought you this before, but I didn't have my whole thing up.
A dismissal would have been better.
I know. A federal judge declared a mistrial in the case against Nevada rancher Cliven Bundy after prosecutors willfully withheld evidence showing that government agents behaved illegally during the 2014 standoff. Judge Gloria Navarro dismissed jurors Wednesday, nearly 1 month after a trial began against Bundy and his sons. And actually, I have up.
So I want to point out just from a personal standpoint.
I have a video.
A mistrial, it's good news, but imagine being the families and thinking we're going to have to go through this all over again.
I think they're happy because I think they know that they're finally the real evidence is going to get out.
I agree.
Into the Bundy trial that was just declared a mistrial, and while that is good news for the time being, it doesn't mean that they have escaped the felony charges against them that are still lingering should a prosecutor decide to bring them back up. But now it's being reported in the Washington Times, Attorney General Jeff Sessions stepped into the Bundy prosecution after Wednesday's mistrial, ordering a third-party examination of the case in light of the latest government snafu.
I love it.
Joel, you've got your finger to the pulse on this. What is the story behind the story of the mistrial in the Bundy Ranch standoff case?
Well, this is actually a move by Judge Gloria Navarro, who has been infamous for her prejudice against the Bundys, restricting their ability to defend themselves, telling them what they can and cannot say, not allowing them to have witnesses, especially denying them the type of questions or defense that would say that they were provoked. Now we have, of course, whistleblower testimony that there is an FBI memo actually talking about provoking them and putting them in a kill zone. And so it does justify an armed resistance, or at least a call for a defensive resistance from the public on the Bundy's part, which Gloria Navarro did not want revealed. Now, she's playing neutral by saying, I'm going to declare a mistrial. But that means simply that you give prosecutors another chance to clear the air, declare the evidence that they withheld before, which is a violation of the prosecutorial code and the law, and then gives them a chance to prosecute again instead of dismissing the trial, which is what defense attorneys called for. The big smoking gun here is the whistleblower, Larry Wooten, who was the lead investigator for the BLM in the Bundy case. And he documented over a period of a year extreme prejudice and bias in the BLM against everyone from the Bundys to constitutional people to the Mormon church, using vile and crude language, derogatory language, talking about grinding their face in the stone, in the gravel. I mean, you put this kind of evidence before a jury, and it's just like in the Oregon case, they're going to acquit. Right. They're going to say not guilty because
well, yeah, and let's be perfectly clear too, as you talk about the legal precedents when you tamper with evidence. Let's be very clear. The BLM, the Bureau of Land Management, this is a federal bureaucracy that should not even exist, that has basically trained these people into being, I mean, honestly, they just act like thugs. They arm them. They wantonly try to take people's land. The BLM should just get shut down, in my opinion. But get back to what you were saying.
But you bring up a good point, though. The BLM is claimed now to be a legitimate law enforcement agency, but there's no authority for the BLM to have enforcement powers of the kind that requires snipers and people in SWAT teams and other things. And that's what they're trying to justify here. But the Wooten memos are just devastating. He talks about going into his higher-ups all throughout the chain of command and getting shut down and getting and cover-ups occurring. He documents this word for word and page after page. Then he talks about how the fact that the BLM came in and confiscated everything in his office, in his safe, his computers.
They wanted to destroy the evidence of what he had. He was taking dictation, he was taking testimony of what they were saying in private, and they have yet to give Wooten back this information. Now it's in the hands of a congressional investigating team, and they're going to, of course, I think, subpoena the BLM to try to get Wooten's original documentation back, although it wouldn't be surprised me if BLM, as corrupt as he documents, will say, we can't find it, it's lost. He even tells about going to the prosecuting attorney in the Bundy case and telling them that our case from the BLM is suspect because of denial of evidence and withholding evidence. And the prosecuting attorney, who's claiming to be neutral, of course, stonewalled him as well. He's got all of this documented. This is explosive, Owen, and literally is grounds for dismissal of the case, not just a mistrial. And I'm hoping that Jeff Sessions gets involved and say, we're not going to prosecute because this is going to, and clean house within the BLM.
Yeah, so that's where I wanted to go next, because we've seen the follow-up from this. You've got Jeff Sessions now looking into this to see if he needs to step in. So that's one reaction. But then on the other side, do you think there was a prosecutor ready to bring this back up? Do you think they kind of already had that in the works and this mistrial was just kind of a deflection?
No, I don't think they anticipated the Wooten memo getting leaked. Remember, they tried to cover up and shut down Larry Wooten. Let me just give a little preface here. Larry Wooten was a new guy in the BLM. Now, in terms of being an investigator, they made him the lead investigator because he was a new guy, and it became very obvious to him that he was being manipulated. He was being stonewalled. They thought by putting a new guy in there, they could at least run circles around him, they could direct him, and they could keep him from doing it. But they didn't realize this guy was an honest guy, and he would start to document all of this stuff. And so this shows extreme prejudice on the part of the BLM. And I'm hoping that the BLM gets a black enough eye on this that, combined with Secretary Zinke, who has taken a very strong stand against the BLM, and he's over this agency, he can clean house in there. We could see some real changes.
So I'm really excited about this. This is one of those things where we are winning on the fact that we're even having this conversation.
Right.
It was under Obama and Loretta Lynch and Eric Holder that these guys were taken down. They ordered, in my opinion, the kill of Lavoy Finicum.
Absolutely.
Which, if Trump were president, Lavoy Finicum would be alive today. This would have not gone to where it went to. But it did, and an innocent man lost his life because he tried to follow the Constitution. He was trying to go against these guys who were so corrupt. What do you do when they are that corrupt?
Right.
And as Joel said here on the show, he said, when they're that corrupt, it does justify you taking a stance against the government.
And a lot of people would say, well, they should have just rolled over. It's not worth it. Well,
what about the next
American
guy? What about the next
men and
guy?
women that are willing to stand up? Yes, there are, and they put their lives on the line.
They did.
And Lavoy Finicum, and we were at the Red Pill Expo, and we got to listen to his wife speak, and she obviously is still heartbroken, but she is so proud of what her husband did.
Right.
And so he's an American hero as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, so to Australia we go, and then we're going to wrap things up for this evening. Today I was greeted with, everybody said in the beginning it was a terror attack, and then the police say that there's no known terror connections, and I've been searching and searching all day. The one piece of information that shows me it's a terror attack that no one is capitalizing on or showing people is that the police have interviewed him. He's not dead, right? So they can interview him.
Right.
And everybody's saying he was mental. He had mental case. He missed a doctor's appointment. And
so he can't be a terrorist if he has mental problems, because no person that would commit a terrorist act has mental issues.
So here he is being arrested. Afghani with a beard, and he's an Australian citizen of Afghan descent. And he said he was having dreams and he heard voices and he was upset with how Muslims were being treated.
But it wasn't a terrorist attack because he's got mental problems.
He drove through the people. It said one of the reasons he drove through the people was because he was upset about how Muslims were being treated.
Right. But that's just superseded by the fact that
so here's the vehicle.
He's got mental problems.
He used the biggest vehicle he could. He went through all these people. There's a kid, a little child who was injured, from what I understand. And when people say, don't go to terror, don't go to terror, don't go to terror, it just boggles my mind.
But he was trying to terrorize people.
I have a couple clips for you of what's going on in Australia within the Muslim community.
Came from a known Islamic extremist who wants to raise an army to impose Sharia law here in Australia. His message was met with raised fists and loud agreement by his followers in Lakemba. This exclusive report gives an insight into a world anti-terrorism police are urgently investigating.
They flocked to this nondescript convention centre in Western Sydney on Saturday evening. Around 200 men, another 50 women and children behind a curtain at the back to hear speakers for extremist Muslim group Hizb ut-Tahrir call for an end to our way of life.
Eventually, we will bounce back and we will reclaim everything that they have taken from us.
Muslims attending were told Australia's democratic government has to go in favour of an Islamic caliphate ruled by Sharia law.
We will continue to stand up and to oppose your freedom to insult our messenger.
Freedom of speech was top of the agenda, as firebrand preacher Bilal Murhi said Australians use freedom of speech to mock Islam, but not for long.
Now they say they are brave, they have their freedoms, yes, because you have no state, you have no authority, you have no representation, they can be brave. But be brave when we have authority. Come forward when we have a representation with an army ready to defend the honor of Allah and His Messenger. They will not. They will not. And that's what we have to understand.
As the only journalist present, the organisers allowed me to record audio but banned cameras. Australian law says we're allowed to film public rallies.
We do have some media present here tonight, so we do strongly encourage the audience not to engage with them.
Bilal Murhi came under police investigation last October after we aired a video of him coaching children as young as 6 to chant extremist slogans. In addition to this latest speech, we've passed on several videos to the Police Counter-Terrorism Unit and the Attorney General.
So the question is, what kind of mosque does this guy go to?
I don't know, but Heather said something really pertinent that I had wanted to say as well. She says, I would think that all terrorists have mental issues. No sane person would do what they do. And that's what I said to Leah in the kitchen earlier. I was like, yeah, because every terrorist is completely level-headed and sound-minded. Every one of them.
You did say that, Heather. She said that. That's what sane people think.
Spinach Man says Jesus provides true sanity. Well said, Spinach Man.
All right, Popeye. My question is, where do these people come from? And then I remembered they came over on the boats. They were coming over on the boats. And if you don't like your country, and then you go to a country that you don't like, I don't get it. So I'm bringing up some, this is Australia. I'm bringing up some more Australian things.
Now we are in danger of being swamped by Muslims who bear a culture and ideology that is incompatible with our own.
Yes.
If you are not prepared to become Australian and give this country your undivided loyalty, obey our laws, respect our culture and way of life, then I suggest you go back where you came from. Islam sees itself as a theocracy. Islam does not believe in democracy, freedom of speech, freedom of the press, or freedom of assembly. It does not separate religion and politics. It is partly a religion, but much more than that. It has a political agenda that goes far outside the realm of religion. It regulates Muslims' social and domestic life, their legal system, and politics, their total life. Muslims are imprisoned at almost 3 times the average rate. The rate of unemployed and public dependency is 2 to 3 times greater than the national average. Muslims are prominent in organised crime with associated violence and drug dealing. Antisocial behaviour is rampant, fuelled by hyper-masculine and misogynist culture. Therefore, I call for stopping further Muslim immigration and banning the burqa as they have done in many countries around the world. In addition, no more mosques or schools should be built, and those that already exist should be monitored with regards to what they are teaching until the present crisis is over. Sharia law should not be acknowledged or allowed, and Australian companies should be banned from paying for halal certification.
So, Chad Blankenship says this is the lady that was ran out of Parliament for wearing a burqa to make a point.
I remember that. Now, one more here. This is Australia. This Muslim imam explains to infidels how Islam allows polygamy because men can handle 4 women before women can't.
Polygamy is allowed in Islam, but polyandry, which is polygamy, is allowed in Islam, but polyandry, which is a woman having multiple husbands, that's not allowed, because firstly is that how do you identify whose child it is? But also women don't want to become a infant factory, because each husband he wants children. So if a woman gives birth, then she's got to, before she can even have time to recover and get back to her strength, another husband wants a child. And so it is not practical.
So it's mostly about biology, is it?
It's also...
She's literally trying to engage him in some sort of level of normal conversation, which you can't do with somebody like this.
It's a psychological thing as well. Men can handle 4 women, but women cannot handle 4 men.
Okay, who wants to comment on that? You're going to have to take a bit of heat, I think.
To see the comments, the replies from people. That's disappointing.
Okay, so the fact that we're having this conversation,
okay, I know
shows the problem with Islam. I don't converse with people like this.
You know what? Here's the thing.
You run them straight out of town.
A lot of those women were probably going to go, oh, no, he didn't, because I can handle 4 men. No, let's start with nobody needs to be handling more than 1 partner at a time. Yeah. Okay.
And then this, I'm not going to play this, but this is an Islamic leader telling young girls that they'll go to hellfire if they have friends who are non-Muslim. So how is that integrated into society? So my point is that...
You're going to skip that one.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm going to skip
All
it.
right.
My point is that this guy, whoever he was, he ran over a bunch of people in Australia, and it was Islamic terror, and nobody wants to say it.
It was terror. It wasn't a mental issue. It was. Hang on. It was. All terror is a mental issue.
All right, so I'm going to actually do 1 or 2 more things real quick, short things. Justin Trudeau, returning Islamic State jihadis can be extremely powerful voice in Canada. So what he's saying is we want to bring them back, and we're going to change them into being wonderful citizens. And when they're back, they will see the error of their ways, and they'll speak out so much against Islamic terror that there'll be a voice to stop Islamic terror. And I just find that incredibly stupid.
Justin Trudeau is a special kind of stupid,
and in
they
Canada,
have a special category for his stupid.
He took money from in a house, and he tried to go on a vacation with some Muslim lobbyist guy, and he got caught in ethics probe.
Not have occurred to you, with all due respect. You were going to take a free holiday from someone you consider a friend, but obviously you have a different definition of a friend than the commissioner. You knew that they had a lobbying registry, that they were set up to lobby the government. How could it not have occurred to you that that might not have been okay?
The fact is, we work.
Watch this.
Sorry, let me just try to reorder the thoughts. We worked with the lobby conflict of interest commissioner on a regular basis on a broad range of issues when the issues come up. On this issue of a family vacation with a personal friend,
if it doesn't flow right, it's a lie. He's thinking to himself, I'm a good liar, but I got stuck here. Let me reorder my thoughts.
wasn't considered that there would be an issue there. Obviously there was a mistake. The Aga Khan is someone who has been a long-term friend of my family's, a friend of mine, a friend to Canada as well. And for me to look for a place to have a quiet vacation where I can have quality family time is something we all look for with our families. Obviously, the issue moving forward will be something that I and no doubt future prime ministers will take much more seriously and be much clearer about proactively verifying even family-related friends travel in the future.
Wow. You know what? That kind of reminds me of one of the hardline questions that Josh Sigurdsson might have asked Justin Trudeau on his channel, World Alternative Media. If you guys are not following that channel, please go and subscribe to WHAM, World Alternative Media.
I have this queued up. I actually want to. I'll share. I don't know if I'll share.
Hang on. Heather says, "How did this man become the Prime Minister of Canada? He is a moron. He's also very young. I think the deck was stacked. I think there were fraudulent votes there.
He's a globalist, man. He is a moron. He is so stupid. He is a bumbling idiot. I don't understand it either.
Carl Schmuck says the Islamic jihadists in Canada are going to cause us to have to go to war against Canada, and the war will end with every Muslim in Canada dead and the death of Justin Trudeau. Let's hope it does not come to that.
Let's go to Sweden for 1 second.
Go on to Sweden.
As we see it just now, we recommend that women who go out late at night rather not to do it without getting a lift, or that they go together as a group. In the weekend, a rape attempt and an assault was reported in the center of a town, but they are not the only cases. Since the 20th of February, 6 types of assaults against women were reported in Missouri. I'm sorry to say, but I think they need to act out of being safe. There are actually a woman on her way to work at 11 in the evening who was attacked. It's not in a bar environment. That women are easy prey by themselves. Here was a lone wolf. Nobody else was around.
Didn't that say lone woman?
No, it was a lone. I thought he said lone. Let me see. Was it lone woman? Maybe I thought it was a lone. I don't know. You're right, lone woman. Thank you.
And a bit late in the evening.
Thank you.
With nobody else around. I think we should act out of a safety principle. we both, how many girls?
But it is rather serious that we are asking women to change their behavior. Yes, unfortunately, that's the way it is. But we think it's important. We feel a strong concern that this could end with something much worse than an attempted rape. The incidents we have had where women have been assaulted have been very violent, like the one who got raped and then they put lighter fluid or gasoline on her genitalia and set it on fire just this week.
I want to kill people.
The police have certain levels in the various cases, but are also asking the public if they have heard or seen anything that could help solve the cases. And are the perpetrators lone individuals or are they several? In the case of assault and the attempted rape, it has been a group of up to 3 persons. In 2 other cases, it's been individuals. What is curious is that none of the perpetrators were drunk. According to our knowledge, they've been completely sober, which is also odd. Have there been any earlier incidents? Nope, there haven't been. There's obviously been some cases over the years, but it's normally drunken men fighting with each other and stuff like that.
Right.
This is something new. Here it is, women are the target. So basically saying that in this town of Sweden, basically the only time you need police is just a couple of drunk guys fighting.
Wow.
So they have a new way to handle this.
Okay.
New Swedish consent laws could require written permission for sexual relations.
Okay, I know Leah's going to give you guys her punchline, and I'm not going to steal it, but she has a good one. Go ahead.
The left-wing Swedish governing coalition is looking at drastically tightening the country's sexual consent laws, which require prior verbal or written consent from both partners in the near future. The government has said the new laws, which will go into effect in July of next year, will require both partners to have explicit verbal or written consent in order to engage in sexual activity or be open to potential rape charges. Previous Swedish law stated that sexual relations were deemed consensual as long as neither partner said no, except in cases of extreme intoxication. The new legislation claims to only require oral permission beforehand, but many have speculated that in a potential rape allegation, it would be wiser to have a permission written down on paper. Social Democratic Prime Minister, this is not the Onions, Stefan Löfven defended the new legislation on Sunday, saying, "The message is simple. We need to ask the person you want to have sex about if she wants it. If you are unsure, you have to leave it. Sex must be voluntary." Right. The law is said to be inspired by the hashtag #MeToo campaign, which has several prominent media organizations and even the far-left activist group Expo rocked by sexual misconduct allegations. Swedish politicians and the mainstream media have largely agreed on the new law without much in the way of debate. One dissenting voice has been columnist Staffan Hemmersson, who called the new law a witch hunt and likened it to Stalin's purges. He was fired.
Hang on, so
we're
now
still here.
think,
Hi.
I'm gonna guess it defaults to
Device is not available.
Hang on.
That was Jasper didn't mean it. She really did it. It was just an accident. Every once in a while it happens.
At least we saved the laptop from falling on the floor.
I bet it. One day when we go into the basement, I don't know if you can hear me or see me, and we set it up permanently, poor Jasper won't trip on any cords. She didn't mean to, did you? I have a head. Push me down.
Okay.
Hi.
That's a nice shot of our ceiling.
Oh, there we are.
There we are.
It's late and it's never a dull moment around here.
No, it is not.
Despite the already tough rape and sexual assault laws, Sweden continues to see incidences of often brutal rapes, including a case earlier this week where a 17-year-old was partially lit on fire after being raped. So we're gonna end with this. And
Hang on, I want to get to some of the comments.
I know, but
the crash.
no, but I'm gonna sum this up. And Michelle wrote it down.
Okay, now,
so I tweeted this
Robin actually came. She's really close to the answer. Okay,
you're gonna write down the algebraic equation. Okay, so I tweeted this out and I said this is really, 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 really simple. We do need written consent. I mean, I agree. Definitely need written consent.
For sure.
And we need oral consent. And it has to be in the presence of witnesses.
Yes.
Okay? So, here we go.
It's not going to start with, can I touch you? And then you write it down, check the box.
No, this is really simple.
Can I give you a hug?
One thing, one signed, and one and done.
We can't go like, can we go to first base?
One and done.
We don't have to go every step by step.
One and done. Okay. So here's what we do. G-A. Make marriage great again.
This is the only written consent.
Well, that's the verbal consent.
Well, yeah, but
the written consent is a marriage license.
You're right.
The verbal consent is I do.
I do.
And we're done.
We're done.
One and done. See, what has happened under Karl Marx and Frederick Engels, you probably don't know who Frederick Engels is. That's because they don't want you to know who he is, because he was Karl Marx's partner in crime who wrote actually most of what Karl Marx actually is said to have written. Mm-hmm. And when Karl Marx was dead and gone, Frederick Engels came out with their essence of communism, destroying the family, destroying marriage. They actually wanted women to polyandry, to have many husbands, but no marriage. They wanted women to be sleeping around. The idea, what has happened is, through this cultural Marxism, the commies have embraced the idea of Frederick Engels and Karl Marx in destroying marriage.
Right.
But it doesn't work in actual practical usage.
So what, I don't know if you mentioned this.
So what they're trying to do is get around marriage.
Right.
with these other almost marriage, I call them pseudo marriage laws.
Right.
Written consent for sex would be a marriage license. Yeah. In maybe 40 or 50 years ago.
Well, but here's the thing. I mean, the guy used to say, "You may now kiss the bride."
Right. Very simple. And then she says, "I do.
I do."
And everyone saw it.
I do.
Right?
To you. And you
so then people have sex because that's what you've done. You've written on a piece of paper. You said, "I want to have sex with this person for the rest of my life."
That's
and you
not
sign a
the
piece
only
of paper.
thing that means, but it is encompassed within that.
And then you say, "Hey, do you want to live with me and sleep with me?" I do.
I do.
Do you?
Do you?
Do you? But sex without loving and caring and being with somebody in rich or for poor,
right,
leads to broken hearts, leads to children out of wedlock, leads to poverty,
it
leads to broken
the rape
minds.
That has brought us back to the full circle here.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Because women aren't as picky about the guys they just sleep with as the guys that they would marry. So what happens is you end up dating somebody you know you don't want to marry, and then he ends up raping you because he's a jerk. And you knew he was a jerk. You knew he wasn't a good guy, but you dated him anyways.
Right. And the same thing goes for the guys. I think my mom always said that, because, as a teenager, why is that, this floozy girl always get all the guys, and then your mom comes and comforts you and says, well, those are the kind of girls that they just want to date, but they don't want to marry those ones.
Yeah.
We've all heard that, and it's actually very, very true.
Yeah.
Robin says, look for your wife in church. All right, are you sure we covered everything? Because there was
done.
a lot.
It's 12:30. It's time to
All right,
go to
are you
bed.
going to sing the song?
If they want us to. Yeah. It's late, but we should.
We will sing because all right, so Wally is getting the guitar ready. We are going to go live tomorrow. You want me to scoot backwards?
I can't fit.
Like we do every single Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Can you move that?
Yeah.
We will not repeat. We will
Won't
not
be here
be
Sunday
going
at 1.
live Sunday at 1, which is Christmas Eve. That being said, we are going to try being the operative word there, to go live.
But we're really busy that day. So it may not happen.
Sunday in the evening. If we did, it would be around...
We may go live Christmas Day. We don't know.
6 p.m.
We'll go live either Christmas Eve or Christmas Day.
Yes. So, I don't know when to tell you guys. You'll just have to keep a lookout.
Yeah.
It's the best I can tell you. So, tomorrow, come back, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Yeah. Sunday, not at 1 Eastern Standard Time for sure. Mm-hmm. If anything, it'll be after 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. 6.
Right.
It'll be after 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time if we go live on Sunday.
Right.
All right, so. You're still too...
I'm a little squished.
All right, I'm backing you up.
I ain't got no room.
Back up. How's that?
All right, we'll probably go live not with the whole computer thing, probably in the kitchen or in front of the piano again. That'll be better.
Yeah. Well, I thought it would be really fun
in the basement in the
our
by the
Christmas going live for us to just kind of tell you. We've had some really cool Christmases in the past, and they were always when we didn't have any money and we weren't doing a bunch of I'm trying to fix this. A bunch of things, right? And I thought it would be really fun for us to talk to you guys about some of the Christmas stories that we have, and maybe hear a couple of yours in the chat. So hopefully we can make that
Look
happen.
for a video. Michelle will let you know beforehand before we go live. So
I will try to do that, yeah, for sure.
Because we want to be there with you guys. We hope to just sing some songs. We'll tell some stories, sing some songs. It'll be funny, like a TV show, real.
It'll be like having you guys over.
Yeah. Are you ready? Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, holy night, the stars are brightly shining. It is the night of our dear Savior's birth. Long lay
in sin and error pining, till he appeared, and the soul felt its worth. A thrill of hope, the weary world rejoices, for yonder breaks a new and glorious morn. Fall on your knees. Oh, hear the angel voices. Oh, night divine, oh, night when Christ was born. Oh, night divine, oh, night divine. Truly he taught us to love one another. His law is love, and his gospel is peace. Chains shall he break, for the slave he is our brother, and in his name all oppression shall cease. Sweet hymns of joy in grateful chorus raise, we let all within us praise his holy name. Fall on your knees. Oh, hear the angel voices. Oh, night divine, oh, night when Christ was born. Oh, night divine, oh, night divine.
Now you just sing that. Just sing that. Just you go for it.
I was gonna sing it in the next key.
Oh, we're going up here. Oh, great. Here it goes. You're gonna get cray.
Oh, holy night, the stars are brightly shining. It is the night of our dear Savior's birth. Long lay the world in sin and error pining, till he appeared, and his soul felt its worth. A thrill of hope, the weary world rejoices, for yonder breaks a new and glorious morn. Fall on your knees. Oh, hear the angel voices. Oh, night divine, oh, night when Christ was born. Oh, night divine, oh, night divine.
Hi again.
I was just gonna play. Truly he taught us to love one another. His law,
All right. I absolutely love that song. I think it's really, really beautiful. Heather was saying that it is her favorite.
I hope you guys
Christmas
sang. Your
carol.
children, I hope, are in bed.
We sang that in two keys. Because Leah and I were in disagreement as to which key to sing it in.
I like them both.
It worked out well. I liked it.
I like them both.
All right. So, did you have any other song you want to sing, or are we good?
I think it's time for bed.
I do think it is time for bed. We will sing plenty more for our Christmas special, whenever that's going to be.
These contacts out of my eyes.
I don't even have contacts, and my eyes were feeling scratchy.
All right.
Okay, we love you. God loves you. God bless. Merry Christmas. Thank you for being with us this, what is it, 3 days before Christmas evening. I know it's late. I'm very, very sorry. I don't think you can do that, man. I really don't think. But I want to thank our moderators who were here tonight. Gary, Maia, Kelly.
Sorry,
did you just clap for yourself?
I was thinking clapping for them.
Now you made me lose track. Rosa Sharon, which is Stacy.
Moderators.
Texas Rancher was here. Sooks was here briefly. I think we had almost everybody. So thank you guys for being here. Don't forget, it's not just a conspiracy theory if it's the truth. And I got to tell you, we brought a lot of things to you guys tonight that prove that we are winning.
Yes.
This is very exciting time. So I want you guys to be happy. We've got the Bundys. I think what Trump did with this executive order is pretty monumental, groundbreaking.
Jubilee, 2026. They were saying that, not exactly sure, 2016, 2017, 2018 years Jubilee. We have some packages and cards to open up later for you tomorrow, hopefully.
Will we do it tomorrow, or should we wait for our Christmas special?
I'm not sure. We'll decide.
We'll see, because we do have some packages and letters from you guys that we want to... and going back, didn't I said Heather? Yeah. We want to get to those, but we're going to wait for that. I think that covers everything. We have a P.O. Box. If you want to send us letters, we'll read them on air. P.O. Box 107, Milford, Ohio, 45150. And
remember,
while I can...
not just a conspiracy theory if it's the truth.
Plug some channels. Go to Go and Batty and subscribe to their channel. Chris Holman was here earlier. Subscribe to his channel. Stay perfect. You guys know the drill. If you're not subscribed to them, go ahead and do so now. We love you, and we will see you back here tomorrow for sure. And sometime around Christmas. Good night, guys.
I was cold.